What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about the electrical system and car audio and how it all works together. Now, most people think that it all starts here, but that's not how it works. It actually starts up here. Now, I could go back to the fuel tank and talk about how the engine gets fuel and turns that into mechanical energy, but we're going to skip that part because you can't do nothing about that. What you can do something about is this. So, all the power going to your amplifier comes from the alternator, right here. And of course, it's stored in batteries. I got 2 of them up here, and I got 2 more in the back. But it has to come from here. The battery cannot create power. It can only store power. Now, if you're wanting to get power back to your amplifier, let's say you've got a 5,000 watt amplifier, that's going to take about 500 amps to drive it continuously. Well, most of your factory alternators only put out between 50 or 60 up to about 180 amps of power total, and most likely the one you have is somewhere around 120 amps, and that also has to be shared with the car. The car is going to pull about 50 to 60% of that just to run the vehicle and all the stuff on it. So you've only got a small amount of amperage left over to be able to send to something extra. With a high output alternator, say a 300 amp alternator, if you had a 5,000 watt amp, you see you're still not getting 500 amps out of the alternator. Therein lies the problem. So that's where the batteries come in. But they cannot continuously provide power because they're not a source of power, they're storage. So here's how this works. You got a 300 amp alternator, and you got plenty of storage. As your stereo plays along, your bass track's playing, boom, 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 okay? There's pauses in between those beats. During that pause, the alternator can put power into the battery, and then whenever the bass hits, the battery and the alternator can send a combined effort to give you your 500 amps. So it would look something like this with my fingers. So, boom, boom. Get it? Out, fill up. Out, fill up. Now, there's some other elements involved in this. You've heard about your AGMs, your lithiums, your supercaps. So, with AGM, and of course you're submerged lead acid too. All those have their own positives and negatives. The AGM has a fairly low internal resistance, lower than your submerged lead acid. That allows for the power to be transferred into the battery from the alternator quickly, and also for the power to be transferred out of the battery with the alternator to give you a combined hit. And the faster you can move power in and out of your storage device, the better it works with handling those combined hits. For example, if you have a fairly slow and fairly high internal resistance storage, you're not going to be able to put that extra 200 amps of power back in here before that next bass hit comes, and that'll cause your voltage to slowly drop as you jam. So you got to be able to have a low internal resistance. Now, to give you an idea what that looks like, submerged lead acid battery is pretty high internal resistance. AGM is much lower. AGM is your best bet for your money, but it's also very heavy. Then you have lithium. And there's a bunch of different chemistries for lithium, but they all have one thing in common. They all have a really low internal resistance and a really high amount of output instantaneously. Then beyond lithium, you got your supercaps. Supercaps have basically no internal resistance, and they can put out all their power instantly, just right now. So they're really, really good at utilizing that downtime whenever the base ain't hitting, to allow the alternator to store power in them for that next shared hit. So given that, the next element of that is wiring. You guys been looking at it. This is my ground. This is one and I'm getting ready to upgrade all this stuff. I've actually got a 300 amp alternator in here right now, but I'm getting ready to add a 370 and a dual bracket. It's going to get crazy, but the point is, this is your power wire. So you need a big power wire going into your system to feed that power to that battery. And it has to be able to feed a lot of power very, very quickly into your batteries. And I say batteries, that means batteries, lithium, doesn't matter, capacitors, all the same thing. It needs to be able to shove hundreds of amps into your storage very, very quickly, and also get that out to your amplifier very, very quickly. So you need big, heavy wires. This is oxygen-free copper, which is all that I have in my entire system. I do not run copper-clad aluminum because it is crap. So you get your power out, you got your battery in tandem with your alternators, you got plenty of wire to move power back and forth between the two and to get it back to your amplifier. Now let's go back. Yeah, we started back here earlier. So then I've got two more batteries back here, as you can see down here, and big old bus bars. And that wire is sending power. This is power and ground going into my amplifier. I've got 2 runs of each. That amplifier could probably use 4 runs of each, but that's my little 4-channel right there, the gold one. I'm using that for my 4-channel. That one over there isn't even hooked up right now. But we're back here at the subwoofer area. Now I'm going to cover another area of this whole equation. So what this device right here is an amplifier. But more importantly, what this is a power inverter. If you guys are familiar with the thing that you use in a big truck or in a motorhome, where you have batteries, and the batteries give you power at little outlets where you can plug in your electrical devices, like a house plug. Okay, that's an inverter. What that does is it takes DC current from the battery and turns it into AC current and sends it to a outlet. That's exactly what this is. This is essentially a power inverter with a variable frequency controller and a whole lot of other crap. But the nuts and bolts are simple. You send DC power in, AC power comes out and goes to your speakers. If you an AC power has a variable wave. So normally in your house it's 60 hertz if you live in the United States. And that's your wave going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. That's 60 times per second. It goes up and down. That's a 60 hertz wave. Okay. If you put a signal in from the stereo to tell this to play 60 hertz, and you plug your hairdryer into the speaker outlets, it would work if the amp is big enough. I mean, it's what it is. The only thing they do is your stereo sends a signal out your head unit to control the frequency at which that alternating current oscillates. And then that output of alternating current goes straight into your subwoofers, or your speakers all over, but your subwoofers, and causes them to go up and down, riding that same frequency that's coming out of the amplifier. If you sent direct current straight to your subwoofer, it would literally go boop and just stay there. And when you disconnected it, it would go back to the normal. Boop. That's all it would do. It wouldn't go up and down. It would just go boop. That's it. AC current. And yes, if you have a big enough amplifier and you touch the speaker wires to your hand, it will shock the crap out of you. Big amplifier can put out 70, 80 volts or bigger. You know, and yes, it will electrocute you. It will shock you. So then we go on to the subwoofer area. These guys that's going to be a whole nother video. But I wanted you to understand what's going on with the electrical system and how that works, because very few people out there actually explain the system. Direct current stored and generated, coming back together through high capacity and low internal resistance batteries, high conductivity wires, getting power, constant power to that amplifier. The amplifier turns that direct current into AC current, adjusts the frequency of it, sends it out to your speakers, and that's where the power comes from. Ultimately, the important thing is the alternator. Nobody wants to replace their alternator. I mean, you can go online, you can get these relatively cheap. I don't really suggest you do that because it's hit and miss, and a lot of guys will just take your money. What you're looking for is some company like GP, Car Audio, Aragi, McMahon, Singer, you know, Chicago. One of these big name brands, they're going to give you consistent, reliable equipment, and also give you consistent, reliable customer service whenever there's issues. So everybody understand how that works? I know it's a bit long-winded, and most of you guys are like, duh. Well, you know, if you know what you know, you know what you know. Hopefully, maybe I gave you something to think about. If you guys enjoy my content, and I do my best to make everybody happy and to give you the best thing I can give you. If you enjoy my content, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and ring the bell, and leave a comment. If you don't do nothing else, leave comments. I want to hear about what you guys do. I want to know what you think. Get a comment thing started in there. We can have a discussion, and life will be good and awesome. Peace.